Hello everyone and welcome to the channel.
Today we're at Ayala. We're going to show you a bit of the Ayala shopping mall. Right now we're outside, which is also a pretty well-known area with buildings and lots of apartments for rent. And now we're going to go inside the mall to show you a bit of what it looks like.
Today we're going to talk to you about tourism in the Philippines. Or rather, why do 80% of tourists get it wrong when they come here? And how can you avoid that?
You should know that here in the Philippines, first of all, there are more than 7,000 islands. So you really have a lot of options when it comes to tourism. Now, of course, there are certain islands that are favored where there are still some infrastructures, let's say, that are designed for tourism.
Unfortunately, it's still not as developed, let's say, as in countries like Spain or Thailand. Tourism here is still, for example,
even compared to Vietnam, it's clear that here the infrastructure really isn't designed for tourism. Knowing that last year in 2024 there were 5 million tourists, so that's still very few for a country like the Philippines.
The Philippines paradise or hassle, we're going to tell you the truth that no one else will. The cliches, paradise islands that are easy to visit, everyone speaks English. Is that true?
Yes, for the most part, especially on islands like Cebu, Manila, or Palawan, of course, almost everyone speaks English. Now, it's true that if you go to some of the smaller, more isolated islands, even on the larger islands or main routes, it can be harder to find people who speak good English. Even, for example, I spent some time on Iloilo, which is still a fairly large island, and people there speak much less English than, say, in Cebu.
Regarding the reality on the ground, the hassle of transportation, sometimes basic infrastructure, unpredictable weather, what do you think about that?
Yeah, so as far as the weather goes, it's clear that the rainy season is more challenging. If you come as a tourist during the rainy seasons, it's going to be much more complicated and challenging to navigate. Now, during the dry seasons, on the other hand, the temperatures get quite high and can be intensely warm, but of course it's much easier and more convenient to get around the various islands and explore them fully. As for transportation, there are a few options available. Personally, I would strongly recommend planning a little bit further ahead, trying to thoroughly check with various agencies, because if you arrive here without having meticulously arranged anything beforehand, it could certainly get quite complicated, especially if you only have about 2 or 3 weeks available and you truly want to drive your very own personal vehicle. It's definitely going to be pretty tricky and challenging. Now, regarding the essential infrastructure, make sure to diligently get comprehensive information before actually coming and try to get in touch with reputable and well-established agencies. Because here the options are quite limited. You'll be charged from every angle.
That's also part of the country's charm, you could say, because it feels more like an adventure. But if you prefer things to be well organized, you'll need to prepare in advance. You're not going to like the Philippines if you expect 4-star comfort everywhere. You need to let go of that idea. There are places with no hotels where there are Airbnbs, but they're run by locals, so it's still very much a local experience. Also, if you can't handle unexpected situations, it's clear that here that's pretty much the norm.
It's all about improvisation.
And if you want to visit 5 islands in 7 days, you can forget about it. Generally, you should plan on 1 island per week here in the Philippines. You shouldn't try to do more than that. Otherwise, you won't see anything. You'll just spend all your time in transit and end up missing out. You'll just be traveling from place to place.
And that's only if you don't get stuck because of the weather. For example, the boat might not be able to leave, or even the plane, which sometimes gets cancelled. So make sure to allow for extra time when traveling from one island to another.
So what are the biggest mistakes tourists make when they arrive here, and how can you avoid them? It's simple, thinking you can do Palawan, Cebu, Bohol, and Siargao in 10 days. You can do it, but you'll be traveling the whole time.
It's going to be a non-stop race.
See nothing.
There's really no point.
Avoid booking flights that are too close together, because if one flight is delayed, you'll miss the next one. On here, depending on the weather or sometimes ground conditions, you won't have any control over that. So it's always best if you have a flight to try to schedule the next one ideally for the following day and not the same day.
Yes, exactly, if that's possible, because here they tend to cancel flights easily. Why visit the Philippines? First of all, you should know there's a legendary hospitality here. Filipinos are known for their kindness. I see that every day. An excellent value for money, even if compared to some other Asian countries that aren't necessarily the best in that regard. There's also a natural diversity here. Here you can find mountains, jungles, volcanoes, beaches, coral reefs. There's a bit of every kind of landscape.
So, are you more into comfort or adventure? That's for you to decide. After that, you really need to figure that out from the start to know which region you're going to go to. You don't go to the Philippines to certain islands if you want a certain level of comfort. You just don't go to those kinds of islands because you know full well you won't find the infrastructure you're looking for. That's why you'll stick more to high-quality resorts. And if, for example, you really want to go on an adventure, then you should hire guides who know the places you want to go, but we won't make any recommendations. That's for you to decide. We won't recommend anyone because there's really a bit of everything out there. We don't want to have any problems with that. So that's really up to you to decide when you're here, or if you have people who recommend guides to you to go ahead and hire them. But don't just go wandering anywhere out in nature if you don't know the area. You're still taking risks. There are some places you shouldn't go. So, where do you recommend going for the first time? Any simple tips?
Well, let's say if you're really looking for paradise-like places, it's clear that Palawan has those heavenly beaches, but they're very touristy.
Otherwise, well, there's also Cebu and Bohol, which are a good compromise. On Bohol, you have the Chocolate Hills, which are very famous. And well, they also have some very beautiful beaches. Otherwise, yes, Siargao, which is very popular with surfers and has a relaxed, somewhat festive vibe. And there's also Banawe, which is more about mountains and nature, depending on what you're looking for. There you go. Basically, there's something for everyone. There's something for every taste. It's great.
That's the advantage of having so many islands.
From the sea to the mountains.
Yeah, with all the landscapes that exist here, there's really a lot to do.
So, regarding budget and planning, how much does it cost to really enjoy yourself?
Well, as for the budget, it's hard to give a range, but I think as a tourist, you'd need at least 1,000 euros for 2 weeks, And then, well, plan for... It's difficult to give you a price. It will depend, of course, on whether you are looking for 5-star hotels.
So per person?
Per person, yes. Generally, counting these 701.
At least 1,000 euros?
For a fortnight.
Yeah, up to 3,000 or 4,000 euros, let's say, to be really good, to get comfortable.
Well, that includes everything, of course, both accommodation and travel. So now, for getting around, I would recommend that you take the plane rather than the ferries. The price difference isn't huge if you book in advance, and it will save you a lot of time, because with the ferries, if the sea is rough, well, they might not even depart.
As for food and accommodation, well, it's the same thing, really. It depends on what
you're looking for, that's it. Of course, if you're staying at a 5-star place, the prices won't be the same as if you eat at small local restaurants, which can be very good, There are some excellent local restaurants without having to go for 5-star places. Now, try to always have a plan B, just in case what you planned doesn't work out, because here there are a lot of unpredictable things. So, it is always a good idea to have a comprehensive plan B in place. And of course, it's always the same familiar story, highlighting the significant difference between the beautiful Philippines and the vibrant country of Thailand.
So for Thailand, let's say you'll have comfort, parties, and tourist-friendly convenience. Then, well, compared to the Philippines, you'll get more adventure, raw nature, and it's more authentic. And, well, both are incredible, but not for the same people. So that's important to keep in mind. Don't go to the Philippines thinking it's the same as Thailand or Vietnam. So thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe and give a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And we'll see you next time.